Okay, thank you. Okay, so I record it, but I don't know what to do with it after I record with it. But hopefully one day God will send me Chayin Love Das. I down for it every day. I should become a little more proficient with computers. At any rate, this week we have two parshas, two action-packed parshas. I want to come to a interesting medrash, and actually it appears in several places. You know, it says, "Ki savoyu al haaretz unatatem kol eitz machal." When you come to the land, you should plant. And the medrash says that this idea, this notion of planting, to be able to plant, is something that fulfills the mitzvah of Achrei Hashem Elokeichem Telechu, to follow in the ways of Hashem. Because one of the first jobs that is described of God is Vayita Gan Be'eden. Vayita Hashem Gan Be'eden. Hashem also planted. And the Medrash says that just like God plants a garden, so too a person should plant. Now what does that mean? That there's a mitzvah, you come to Eretz Yisrael, that is really a segue to the mitzvah of Orla, which says you wait 3 years, and then it's Asabana, and then for the 4th year it's Net Rabbi, you have to redeem it, or eat in Yerushalayim, and then after that you have a heta to use it. But so the pasuk talks about planting and waiting for 3 years, and being planting like Hashem is a planter. So what does that mean? What is this idea that Hashem plants, we plant? The whole idea is planting. Planting is one of the professions a person can use, and of course, Eretz Yisrael's mitzvah, it happens to be that the introduction of that mitzvah is not exclusive to Eretz Yisrael, because Arla applies in Chutz La'aretz also. So although it's a mitzvah Tluis B'aretz, and there are certain additional chumras that apply to Arla and Eretz Yisrael, but it doesn't necessarily, it's a mitzvah that applies in Chutz La'aretz also. So I want to relate a medrash. Yesterday, when I was bemoaning my difficulty with, dealing with the situation, and I spoke about some approach to take. So I came home that night and I heard a shir from the Tolner Rebbe, and he quoted a medrash. And although I think he took a little different approach to the medrash, but the medrash is a fascinating medrash I want to share with you. It's rather a long medrash, but hopefully we have enough time to go through it. So the medrash says like this. The medrash tells a story about Ad-Daryanus, otherwise known as the evil Hadrian. And he was a king, and he was on his way to do a battle, and he was passing through the Holy Land. And he was going to do a battle against some country that was giving him distress. He found, as he was going, he was walking through the country, traveling through Eretz Yisrael, he saw a Zaken Echad, an older man, and he was planting figs. And Hadrian said to him, "You old man, what are you knocking yourself out? Who are you knocking yourself out for? For others?" So he says, "Listen, I'm planting, and if I'll be worthy, I'll eat from its fruit, and if not, at least my children will eat." 3 years, Hadrian went on, and he did battle for 3 years. After 3 years, the Zaken, this old man, came and met Hadrian, and he took a basket, and he filled it up with some of the finest fruits, the figs, and he presented it to Hadrian, and he said, "Here, please, take this. I'm the old man that you met on your way there 3 years ago. I'm still alive and well. And you were wondering why I knocked myself out." And he says, "For others," he says, "Look, God gave me fruits, and here it is, and here's a present for you." And he was so touched by the message, by his offer, that he took the basket and he filled it up with gold coins. And obviously the old man went home and he was happy as can be. Meanwhile, the neighbor had heard the story. He told over, the old man went home, told his wife the story, and there was a neighbor, there was a woman who was a neighbor. She was home in the house there, and she heard the whole story. And she heard, so she went home, and she told the husband, and he said, "Look," he said, "you're sitting in a dark house, you're all full on." He says, "If you'll go take a basket of fruits, of figs, and fill it up, he'll fill it up for gold coins also." So the Gemara says he went and he filled it up with all sorts of fine fruits, and even not just figs, other fruits. And he went to the king, to Hadrian. He found him. And it's interesting that it says in the Medrash, and this the Talmud Rebbe pointed out, that he took a shortcut. He wanted to get there as fast as he could. He says he took the Karv Lefnei Hamela by Kapandria, and he came to the king, and he said, "I heard you love fruit. Here it is. I want to honor you." The king took one look at him. He took the fruits, threw it in his face, and he told his underlings to beat him up. And he went home. He was bruised and beaten. And he told his wife what happened, what the story is. And he says, this is what you got me into. And the Gemara says, you learn from the story. The Medrash says, you learn from the story. A person should never stop planting. Never stop planting. And always plant, because look at the moral of the story. You plant, you'll reap the benefit from it. And the Medrash says, and just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu also plants. So what's the Medrash? What's the message here? And so many Baalei Machshava and many Baalei Mussar want to learn this Medrash, and it's coming to teach us that you shouldn't think about yourself. This man was planting, and he thought about others. And because he thought about others, so he emulated God's midah. He planted a garden for others because he doesn't need it. So when a person lives for others, then you live a life of inspiration, a life of success, and siyata d'shmaya, and that's the moral of this story, as opposed to the other guy who was only interested in self-gratification. He wasn't motivated on his own. He just figured, here's an opportunity. I'll also do the same thing. Meanwhile, that it wasn't really for his other, only for himself. He only thought about himself, and that's how many people learn the Medrash. But the truth is, I don't think it's born out in the Medrash, because the Medrash says, he didn't say I'm planting for others. He said, listen, I'm planting. Maybe it'll be for me, and if it doesn't work out for me, maybe it'll be for somebody else. And so it wasn't necessarily that he was so motivated to do it for others. In fact, he says, maybe I'll be zeicha, maybe I'll be lucky, and I'll live long enough to get it. So it wasn't as if, I gave up on my own. I'm old. I'm not thinking about me anymore. I have a pension. I'm doing it for others. It's not that clear that was his motivation. And why indeed does it say in the Medrash that the other guy took a shortcut? So it occurred to me, and I was thinking, I think what it means is as follows. In life, so often, what drives us is our objectives. And everything else that we do is just going through the motions until we get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And often in life, because we're so focused with our goals, we forget to stop and smell the roses, and we don't realize that in Avodas Hashem, it's not just in physical accomplishments, it's also in terms of ruchnius accomplishments. We forget that every moment of life that we live is a moment of eternity. Hashem planted a garden. This garden is the garden of eternity. And God gives us opportunities every second of our life. And just like gardening, the nature of gardening is, it takes painstaking efforts, and you have to focus on it. And people who enjoy gardening, they enjoy actually the gardening itself. It's not just the beautiful tomatoes that they grow, but they feel somehow connected, whether it's connected to Hashem with the consciousness or to nature, which they don't realize is Hashem. But there is something about relishing the activity itself. I had a friend who passed away, Lenny Estes, may he rest in peace, may it be a memory for him, a schus for him. And he used to love to garden, and he used to present to me these monster squash. But often he would tell me that the rabbits would come to his garden and eat it up. He said, it doesn't make a difference. I enjoy the gardening. It's something that connects me to, nature and the reality that there is a force, a God that makes it work. And really, gardening is sort of representative of connection. It's connection. And obviously, if you realize it on a higher level, it's a connection to Hashem. But it's really just a metaphor. Hashem has given us a life, and each one of us has a certain amount of time on this earth to plant a garden. And if we only worry like that other guy who just saw an opportunity, and we just look at opportunities to get there without relishing the moments and appreciating the small steps and opportunities that come our way and how we deal with them, which are actually the dots on the graph of eternity. And those are moments that if we squander them, they never return. And I think that's what it means in the Medrash. And that's really why the mitzvah of Arla is also a lesson to that, because Arla is you plant and you have to wait 3 years. And even after 3 years, you can't have any benefit from it. In the 4th year, you have to take it, and you have certain restrictions. You can't just eat it. It's only after that you get the blessing. It's about waiting. It's not about the goal per se. It's about the journey. It's about the moments of connection that we have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether it's in the garden or the garden of life with the thousands of challenges and opportunities and experiences that are waiting for us to infuse it with meaning and mindfulness and connection to Hashem and creating our eternity for all of eternity. That's how we create it. That's what it's all about. So going back to yesterday, that's what I said yesterday. We were talking about, we want and we get frustrated and we don't get to where we want to get to. It's not about where we want to get to. It's where we are right now. And I saw one of the great tzaddikim, I saw a quote of Rabbi Tauber, famous Rabbi Israel Tauber, who also passed away not that long ago, great inspirer. And he said that one of the Gedolei tzaddikim used to say, when he got up in the morning, he would say, "Good morning, the 6th of Iyar." He'd wake up the 6th of Iyar, whatever it was on the calendar. And he says, "What an amazing day. Thousands of years have been waiting and longing for this moment to come. You, this day, is part of the program that HaKadosh Baruch Hu started and originated, the game plan at creation. We've been waiting for you for a long time. Now that you came, Hine Hazman Kotzar v'hamalacha maruba. The time is short, and there's a lot of work to do. I can be in your atmosphere. I can be within your walls for 24 hours. At the end of 24 hours, I won't be able to see this day ever again. I got to get started immediately. I promise you that I will enliven, I will invigorate every moment and every second." That's what this tzaddik would say. And I believe that that's really what the message is. Hashem created a garden, and that represents Nitzchias, the Gan Eden, which is about the world of Nitzchias. And the garden are thousands upon thousands of seconds, billions of seconds from the beginning, trillions of seconds from the beginning of creation. And every moment, every day that comes, every hour that comes, every minute, every second is an opportunity to create and form and forge a relationship with Hashem that becomes part of who we are. And that's what we take forever. And there's an amazing medrash. The medrash says, discovered another amazing medrash says, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said like this, Im hoisa netiya biyadcha. If you have a sapling in your hand, and someone will tell you, Mashiach is outside, he's waiting for you. Tend to your garden, and then you'll deal with Mashiach. What I think it means, many learn this to mean that if you're in Eretz Yisrael and you're tilling the land, that is connecting to Hashem, that is, as equal to what Mashiach is bringing to us. But I think it means on a high level. I think it means when you're engaged in a natiyah, you're in a garden moment. You're in a moment tending to your garden called life. And you have an opportunity to create a connection, a kesher, and to respond to that moment with mindfulness, with purpose, with mission, with kedusha, with tahara, and transform it into something that becomes permanent, that becomes eternal. That is more valuable than Mashiach. Mashiach's here. He'll still be here. Whatever tidings he's bringing, whatever celebration, he'll still be here. But if you forsake a natiyah moment, a moment of planting that gives you an opportunity to relish the moment that you're in and tackle it and transform it into something meaningful, that's more valuable than even the coming of Mashiach, because there's nothing more valuable than Nitzchias. And we have every day, and that's the Sphira. And the Sphira, we keep on counting. It looks like we're going to count more than 49 days in our Sphira, and beyond the Sphira of Shuas, because we may be counting more than those days. Who knows how long we'll be released from the opportunities and the challenges that we have in front of us. That Hashem, obviously, in life, when it's normal, we can look at the challenges in a more global sense. We have to go here, we have to be part of this, part of that. Hashem has whittled us down into dealing with little increments of a day, because we're at home, we have many more interactions with people closest to us, and new challenges that relate not just to the big challenges, but the subtle challenges. How am I going to react? How am I going to get up in the morning? How am I going to daven? That's all part of the garden that Hashem has given us an opportunity to take and tend it and create a natiyah, create fruits and reap the fruits of our labors. We are emulating Hashem. Hashem created a world of eternity. That's the Gan Eden. And we tend it and create our connection to that Gan Eden, something more valuable than even the coming of Mashiach. So now, usually at the end, I want to say a story, but it's going to be too long.